think. Got a problem.
What? What's up?
Best man's not coming. Not in Portugal. Not coming. Not
You're
here.
joking.
No.
What are we going to do?
Well, I don't know. Can't you do it?
I ain't doing it. You should have asked me in the first place.
Well, you're going to need to pass my get bag.
I'll see if anyone else wants to do it.
Okay, I'll leave it with you.
So here's my pitch to not be Paul Cliff's best man. Firstly, go back to 1999, big year, snooker final, Tamworth, under 12s. Pressure was on, Liam Finn v Paul Cliff. First to 3. Highest break of the game was 6, I'd say. Cliff takes a 2-1 lead. Cocky, arrogant, thinks he's home and hosed. I turn it round. Never seen the lad move so fast when he didn't turn it round. Lost the game 3-2. Stormed out the building. Yet to shake my hand. So, still waiting for that handshake, Paul. Never forgiven him. He's never forgiven me for beating him. I went on to play Ken Doherty in a lovely charity game. He missed out on that one. Second incident, more recent, probably about 10 years ago. Tightness, which I'm sure that word will probably be used a few times in these videos from various people over the years. Curry House in Coleshill. Debate breaks out. Sky Sports, yes or no? Paul was living with our Auntie Rita at the time. Just starting out in the pension world. A young lad. Earning a living for the first time, but living rent-free. So I asked the lad, you going to get Sky Sports, Paul? No, Finn. Would not pay for Sky Sports. Argument escalated to the point where I had to walk out the curry house. Didn't speak to him for about 3 months afterwards. Again, I'm still waiting for an apology on that one. I think it's shocking.
On why I wouldn't want to be Paul Cliff's best man. Firstly, he is the worst driver I've ever known, and this came from a time that we were in Birmingham doing hill starts when Paul Cliff first started driving. I'm talking about smoke coming from the tyres, Paul Cliff panicking at the junction saying, please tell the people behind I'm going to go into them. He had people around him laughing, all the drivers, and it was a really, really funny experience. So Paul, you are one of the worst drivers in history. Following from that, talking about worst driving, I spent 4.5 hours, 5 hours, on a journey to see our friend Liam. Paul Cliff driving all the way in a metro, fast lane, wheels screeching, absolutely ridiculous. And also, talking to Paul Cliff being tight, any chance he had to go into neutral, he would put it into neutral to save on those pennies. So any hills he had, he'd be like, get that petrol gauge back up there, put that thing into neutral. So you can imagine the journey I had with Paul Cliff there. Talking of cars, he's got the worst car taste I've ever known. He had that Metro, then he had a Grandad car for about 6 years, and we were 18 at the time, so you can imagine sharing journeys with Paul Cliff with that Grandad car. The silver, I think it was a Vauxhall at the time. He's got a fantastic, nice car now, but of course, he's not paying for it. And finally, one of my last reflections of Paul, of why I wouldn't want to be his best man, it's an image I've never got out of my head, really, and that is sharing a hostel room with Paul Cliff. Everything was going fine until the morning, and we woke up in the morning, and then I see Paul Cliff full on naked, walking around the room like nothing was a problem, and that image will never ever leave my head, unfortunately. Paul, you are unbelievable.
Well, been asked a question. Would I be Paul Cliff's best man? No, of course I wouldn't. Why would I? Plenty of reasons why. Is it the fact that He goes a bit mardy when you don't give him a tenner to have a private dance with a stripper? Or is it because he goes even mardier when the same stripper you get to rub fake tan in her naked body and he doesn't? Because I was in charge, he wasn't. Is it the fact that I had to carry him through flooded Polesworth just so he could work at the Red Lion to earn a fiver each? No, it's pretty straightforward, it's pretty simple. Being someone's best man brings on some responsibilities, and you know, sooner or later, being Paul's best man means there's going to be some sort of financial implication. I just couldn't afford it. So I'm sorry. Wish I was there with you, but...
The reasons I would never be Paul Cliff's best man. There are several reasons. Mainly, he cannot handle his drink, so he's a liability. There's been various occasions where he's suggested going out an all-dayer. An all-day to him is sipping 1 pint of Guinness for 5 hours, and then bragging that he's been on an all-dayer. On from that, he cannot handle his alcohol at all. I've met him after work in Birmingham with my wife, had a few beers. He suggested going to get a bottle of wine. An hour later, he's on a train, lay between 2 seats with a green face. He is a massive lightweight. He is also the worst loser in the world. On many occasions we've played snooker. If he's winning 2-0, we will pay the best of 20. If I'm winning 2-0, he will think of all the excuses under the sun not to carry on playing. I've had a hard day at work. My shoes are rubbing. So I only ever win 2-1 when I play him. I just would never, ever be his best man.
Would I be Paul Cliff's best man? Absolutely not. Couple of reasons. There's actually many, but I'll keep it to just a couple. We grew up together. There's a lot of things in common with Paul and I. We were on the same street living. We went to the same primary school, went to the same secondary school. We even supported the same football team. That's right. That football team was Manchester United. I know that's different to what a lot of people think that he supports now. And that's mainly my point. He decided, after about 10 years of supporting Manchester United, to change. What kind of man changes his team? And that he changed to support Birmingham City. Well, Paul, how did that go for you? That was the first reason. Second reason, he is a liability and quite honestly embarrassing when he's had a drink. He came to visit us a couple of years ago in Melbourne. I live in Australia now. And we went out for dinner. We went out to this fancy, and I say sort of fancy, it was a fancy sort of curry house, really. One of these Indian sort of fusions, so not the local one at sort of Faisley, which I must admit I do miss, but no, it was a fancy one, you know, proper waiters and things and all that. And he'd had a few beers beforehand, and quite honestly, they made a mistake, and I'll put it down to being a mistake, but they put something extra on the menu. Not on the menu, sorry, on the bill, on the receipt. So the bill came and we went through it, and obviously him being Paul, he went through every single item of the receipt, matched it to the menu to see that the price was all right. But in fairness to him, he did identify that there was a slight mistake and there was an additional item on the menu. Well, that did not go down well with Paul. He created a scene. He actually accused the waitress, the young girl, as being a crook, tried to steal from us. He was just embarrassed. We almost got asked to leave the restaurant. So, number one, he changes football teams. Loyalty, that's not Paul Cliff. And number two, he's quite honestly embarrassing and a liability when he's had a drink.
Hello, Mr. Cliff, and soon to be reaffirmated Laura Cliff. Yeah, I just can't be your best man, mate. I'm just too busy with this the post-production efforts for this a certain video. So I'm very sorry, but yeah, as much as I would love to do it, I just can't. So yeah, I'll leave it up to someone much more capable. Thanks, buddy.
It's no good. No one's interested. No one wants to do it. The only one person I haven't spoken to is Noon.
Well, who's got to do it? Noon, it's
So
over to you.